"Pilot this helicopter and you'll be my husband," the CEO laughed, until she learned who the homeless man really was. On a rooftop, glowing in the golden light of sunset, a barefoot homeless man stood facing a helicopter and a powerful CEO. Her laughter echoed through the city skyline as she mocked his tattered clothes and broken pride. "Fly this chopper," she sneered, "and I'll marry you." To her, it was a joke, a cruel game played for the amusement of those who had everything. But within that man stood a story she could never imagine, a past that could silence every insult she had ever spoken. By the time she learned the truth, her laughter had turned into tears. The city of Chicago glittered in ambition and arrogance, a place where power was worshipped and weakness was ignored. Amelia Rhodes, the youngest CEO in her company's history, was a woman born into privilege. Her father had built an empire of private aviation, and she had inherited not only his fortune, but also his pride. Each morning, she arrived at the helipad atop her skyscraper, ready to dominate another day. But one morning, her routine was interrupted by the sight of a man sleeping near the rooftop entrance. A man whose clothes were torn, whose hands were rough, and whose eyes told stories of battles unseen. Security moved to remove him, but Amelia stopped them, curious rather than kind. There was something different about him, a quiet defiance in his stance, even in rags. When asked his name, he simply said, "Marcus." In her world of polished perfection, Marcus didn't belong. He looked like a forgotten shadow of the city's failures. But what she didn't know was that behind his weary expression was a past far more successful and far more painful than she could ever imagine. That day, the line between arrogance and humanity began to blur, and fate was about to humiliate the proud most unexpectedly. Days passed, and Amelia kept seeing Marcus around the building's service areas. Sometimes he swept the rooftop, other times he fixed things others ignored. It was clear he wasn't a beggar. He refused money, asking only for small tasks to do. His quiet dignity unsettled her, the employees whispered. Some mocked him, others pitied him. Amelia didn't know why, but she kept watching him, perhaps because she saw something familiar in his silence, something she couldn't name. One evening, as she prepared for a flight to an investor meeting, she found Marcus near the helipad again. He was staring at the helicopter, his eyes filled with something between nostalgia and pain. "Ever been on one?" she asked mockingly. He looked at her for a long time, then said quietly, "I used to fly them." The staff chuckled. Amelia smirked, thinking he was delusional. The idea that a homeless man could pilot a multi-million-dollar aircraft was absurd to her, so she decided to make it a game. "Fly this chopper," she said with a grin, "and I'll marry you." The rooftop erupted in laughter. Even the pilot couldn't help but smirk. Marcus didn't react. He simply looked at the helicopter, then at her. Something in his gaze made the laughter die. He didn't take the dare that evening. He just walked away, whispering under his breath, "One day, truth flies higher than pride." That night, Amelia couldn't sleep. Why did his words echo so deeply in her mind? Why did that man, a stranger in rags, seem to carry the weight of something greater than anyone in her high-rise world? The next day, the news broke. An engine malfunction had grounded one of their aircraft mid-flight, the same model Marcus had stared at. Their engineers were clueless. Investors panicked. Amelia's company faced a multi-million-dollar crisis. When Marcus showed up at the building again, calm as ever, no one expected what he was about to do. Without hesitation, Marcus approached the helicopter under repair. Engineers protested, but he moved with quiet authority, his hands gliding over the controls like they were old friends. Within minutes, he identified the issue, a misaligned fuel sensor and a software glitch in the navigation display. He didn't just fix it. He explained it with precision only an expert could possess. Amelia watched in stunned silence. "How did you—" she began. Marcus finally met her eyes. "Because I designed that system," he said softly. Her breath caught. He reached into the pocket of his tattered pants. He pulled out a crumpled, weathered document, his pilot certification, and an old photo of him standing beside a similar helicopter, wearing the same emblem her company used today. Amelia's heart sank. She recognized the logo, her father's. Marcus continued, "I was your father's lead test pilot, the one who saved his company from bankruptcy after the 2008 crash. But when he died, the board forged documents, blamed me for the accident, and erased my name to protect the brand. I lost everything." The rooftop fell silent. Amelia's arrogance shattered in an instant. The man she mocked as worthless had once been the reason her family's empire still stood. The truth struck her harder than any insult ever could. With tears in her eyes, she whispered, "Why didn't you tell me?" Marcus smiled faintly. "Would you have listened?" In the days that followed, Amelia launched a private investigation. Every record Marcus mentioned checked out. The documents were forged. Her father's signature had been manipulated. To protect corrupt executives, she reinstated Marcus's name in the company, archives, and publicly acknowledged his contribution in a press conference that made national headlines. But Marcus didn't stay. He thanked her quietly and disappeared once more, saying he preferred freedom to fame. Months later, during a company charity event, Amelia looked up as one of the helicopters soared overhead. For a brief moment, she saw a familiar figure in the pilot's seat. Calm, proud, unbroken. She smiled through tears. That day, Amelia learned something no boardroom could teach, that greatness doesn't always wear a suit, and worth isn't measured by wealth. In a world obsessed with status, she had mocked a man who once carried her father's dreams in the sky, and as the rotor blades echoed above the city, a haunting question lingered. How many people do we walk past every day, not realizing they once carried the world on their shoulders?